everyone kind of see me? Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So it's a long one, but what do you expect? So I'm going to be speaking on behalf of both of us. So thank you all for coming today. We are... I'm going to curse. Good start. We are overwhelmed by the outpouring of love we've received since Ethan has entered this world. We are so grateful for everyone who came from both near and far to share in the Simcha. We have my Aunt Judy and Uncle Neil who came all the way from St. Louis. We have my Uncle Josh and Aunt Elizabeth and Cousin Ahuva who flew in from Cleveland. All of my surrogate aunts and uncles from Maryland, and when I say surrogate aunts and uncles, I really do mean that. And then all of our family members from the New Jersey, New York area. When we moved to New Jersey, I thought that we had no family here, but apparently we have more family than I ever really knew. We know that taking off work midweek and adjusting our everyday life is not easy, and we really want to thank you from the bottom of our hearts for coming here today. We also would like to, my speech coach. We would like to thank our parents for generously hosting today's bris. It's really a feat to pull something like this off in a week's time. I don't really know why. It should be longer than 8 days for all the coordination that's required. Mike and I wanted to share a few words about how the name Ethan J came about. Please bear with me as this is a difficult story to tell. But one that is personally important for us to share as Mike and I continue to move forward in our healing process. And Judy, I thought of you because I thought from a social worker standpoint that this is a good outlet to keep everyone here, so what better therapy session than now? So our journey to have Ethan, EJ, Jay, Aton, Baby Jay, we gave you lots of options, and you're welcome to call him whatever you want. We have no attachment to any name, and they all have different significance for different people, so really call him what you like. So our journey to have Ethan began nearly 3 years ago. Mike and I decided we were ready to start a family, and after 10 long months we got the incredible news that we were expecting. It was the weekend after Thanksgiving, and we didn't waste much time to drive home and surprise both of our parents in Maryland with the exciting news. We all shared a l'chaim and were on top of the world. My parents were expecting their first grandchildren just 3 months apart, and Mike's parents were expecting their first grandchild. The pregnancy was going great, and Danielle and I were able to share what all sisters dream of: the idea of their children growing up together and becoming close cousins. When I was 4 months pregnant, we found out it was going to be a boy, and immediately we began having dreams of the future. Mike was going to have a baby boy to dress up in superhero costumes and play baseball with, and I have visions of my father holding a baby boy and a baby girl in both arms on the bima at the upcoming Rosh Hashanah holiday. We were anxious like any expecting parent, but our excitement overrode any nerves. As Mike and I thought about names, it didn't take us long to settle on Ethan. From that moment on, our time was spent dreaming of Ethan Cashton's future. We were heading into our 5th month, and things continued to look fine. We were home for Pesach, and Danielle and I even took a professional photo shoot together, showing off our pregnant bellies. Shortly thereafter, things took a turn for the worse. It was late April, and I had to be hospitalized due to what we thought was a gallbladder problem. During my hospital stay, they were doing a routine ultrasound and noticed the baby was on the smaller side. The following day, on my 29th birthday, we went to an ultrasound specialist to check the baby's blood flow, and it became immediately clear that something was wrong. The placenta was not providing the blood flow to the baby, medically called intrauterine growth restriction. The doctor told us that in an ideal situation, the baby would make it to 28 weeks. I was 23 weeks at the time, nearly 6 months pregnant. That weekend, Mike felt Ethan kick for the first time, and we prayed that it wouldn't be the last. Given the gravity of the situation, we went to see a specialist that Monday in New York City to get a second opinion. That was the beginning of the end. The doctor, in the most empathic way possible, told us the problem was profound. In the doctor's office, Mike and my parents and I hugged and cried together, knowing that baby Ethan was not going to make it. That week, while we were staying in New York City, our son died. And given how far along in the pregnancy, I still had to deliver him. I will not give you all the gruesome details, but you can imagine the pain, physically and emotionally, that Mike and I endured that long week in New York waiting for our delivery day. Mike's parents came up so we could all be together to say our goodbyes and hold each other close. At Shabbat, the slow and painful healing process began. I was on medical leave for 8 weeks. Looking back, I really don't know how we got through each day. In the midst of all of our pain, Danielle and Dave were awaiting the birth of their daughter. We were leading opposite lives. Somehow my parents had to comfort Mike and I, while at the same time be joyous for the arrival of Samantha Avery. I don't know how they got through each day either. At the last minute, I decided to be there with Danielle at the hospital when Sammy was born. And as difficult as it was, it felt so right to be there for Danielle and Dave and hold Sammy in my arms. That June, Mike and I got confirmation that the previous pregnancy came down to bad luck, and that's exactly what the doctor said, and it's for lack of a better term. We got the doctor's okay that we could try again, and so we did, but like the first go-round, it's not as easy as one thinks. After 8 excruciating months, we finally got the positive pregnancy test. Our emotions were all over the place. Relief to finally be pregnant again, joy for the possibility of having a baby, and absolute fear that we could lose another pregnancy. We told our parents right away, and everyone's response was happiness mixed with trepidation. Each blood test, each ultrasound, each doctor's appointment was stressful, but one step closer to the end goal. While, of course, first and foremost, Mike and I wanted a healthy pregnancy, we had no shame in admitting that we wanted a boy in memory of our first son, Ethan. And in May, that's exactly what we heard. The pregnancy progressed without any problems. Passing the 24-week mark was a big milestone, knowing that everything from that point on was a new experience. At 28 weeks, I found out that I had gestational diabetes, which put the pregnancy into the higher risk category. Our nerves set in, but we managed, and I got into the healthiest diet of my life. Low carb, every pregnant woman's dream. I cut the sweets. My biggest indulgence was frozen Greek yogurt pops and half an apple with peanut butter, and I have plenty of sugar-free snacks if anyone wants a table, because I'm not eating any more Jell-O. I pricked myself 4 times a day and kept track of every morsel I consumed. At the end of the day, none of it mattered as long as the baby was healthy. Now we were approaching the final few weeks. The anticipation was unbearable. We nested like nobody has nested before. A week before Ethan was born, the wooden stairs that you see going upstairs were covered in really ugly mint green carpet left from our previous owners. I was watching TV, and next thing I know, Mike asked me to come upstairs, and all the carpets are gone. He was just supposed to paint the room, and everything was gone. Despite all of our original intentions, Mike painted Ethan's room, furniture arrived, and the walls were decorated. Then finally, last Tuesday at midnight, I began to feel labor pains. I stuck through the contractions all night. By 6:30 a.m., we got the dogs in the car, our other 2 family members, Indy and Flash, who are not here. And we were on our way. We dropped them off at the kennel, and then by 7 a.m. we were headed to Mount Sinai Hospital in New York City. Mike and I were always stressed about delivering in New York, but it was no choice. That's where we had to deliver, and our fears played out like clockwork. It was rush hour, and I don't know if you recall the weather last week. It was pouring rain. My contractions were worsening, and according to GPS, we were 2.5 hours away from the hospital, even though we're like 25 miles away from New York. I had visions of delivering in Lincoln Tunnel, and this is true. Apparently, it had just happened to another woman a couple weeks ago. But after the ride from hell, and thank you to Mike for enduring my screaming and cursing, and I forgot all of my breathing techniques from birthing class. We finally arrived. Once I got the epidural, thank goodness for pain management, I was happy as happy could be. The day flew by, and by night, my parents, Danielle, and Mike's parents all arrived safely to the hospital. By 9 p.m., I got the go-ahead to push, so we turned off the World Series game to allow me to focus on more important matters. And after 15 minutes of pushing, out came our Ethan. To physically see him and hold him was surreal, indescribable. Bringing this baby into the world was a marathon, and we finally made it to the finish line. Mike and I do not know how we could have gotten here if it weren't for the support of our families. We are forever grateful to our siblings, and Steve and Danny are back there, and parents for being there for us every step of the way. Simple thank you just does not do it justice. Our pain was your pain, and our joy is now your joy. And that's what family's all about. To everyone else who is here today and many others who are not, you also played a very important role in our healing process. Your presence merely at this event and hearing our story helps us bring some closure to a long, painful journey. When Mike and I couldn't pray for ourselves and we're in a very dark place, your prayers and hope helped us see the light at the end of the tunnel. Thank you for all your support. For Ethan, we want his name to be a reminder of strength. Mike and I would not be the same people if it weren't for what we experienced, and we are stronger people, partners, and now parents for it. So I know that was a lot to bear, but if you'll continue to listen, I'd like to talk to you now about how we landed on the middle name Jay. In fact, I should bring out